Jimmy had always been a quiet presence in my life. I didn't think much of it initially. Just a boy from high school who seemed to always be around, never quite speaking, but always watching. He'd be at the tea stall on the corner, his eyes following me as I passed by on my way to classes or errands. It felt a little strange at times, but part of me found it endearing. Maybe he liked me. Maybe it was just coincidence. But then, one day, he actually stopped me. "Remember me?" he asked with a smile, his eyes wide with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Of course, I remembered him. We'd been classmates for years, but I don't remember exchanging more than a few words during all that time. I smiled back, saying, "Yes, how can I forget?" It was an awkward but brief conversation, and it seemed like he wanted to ask something more, but I excused myself before he could. I laughed it off, feeling a mixture of excitement and hesitation. Then, a few days later, he stopped me again, a bit bolder this time. We chatted for a while, and finally he asked for my number. I hesitated, but then, somehow I found myself giving it to him. We started talking, texting at first, then phone calls. He had a certain charm, a way of making me feel special, like I was the only person in his world. Eventually, we began seeing each other more often. Small, stolen moments, coffee after classes, walks around the neighborhood, laughing and talking as if we were the only two people in the world. It was all so new and thrilling. But nothing could have prepared me for what he did last night. It was well past midnight when I heard a faint tapping at my window. Groggy and confused, I slowly got up, pulling the curtains back, only to find Jimmy clinging to the metal pipe that ran along the side of my house. I gasped, wide-eyed, as he pressed his finger to his lips, signaling for silence, and with one swift motion, he swung himself through my open window, landing in my room. "Jimmy," I whispered, completely stunned. "What are you doing here?" "I missed you," he said, a soft smile on his face, looking both ridiculous and charming in the moonlight. My heart was racing, a combination of fear and excitement. It was insane, but part of me was undeniably thrilled by his boldness. We only had a few seconds to whisper, his hand lightly brushing mine, when suddenly there was a knock at my door. My heart dropped. My father. Panic flooded my chest. I pushed Jimmy behind my closet door, signaling for him to stay quiet. I quickly straightened up, trying to look as if I hadn't just hidden a boy in my room. "Yes, Dad?" I called, trying to sound calm. My father entered, his eyes sweeping over the room. "I thought I heard something in here," he said, looking at me with a hint of suspicion. I laughed nervously. "No, it was nothing. Just a little night reading." He nodded slowly but didn't seem entirely convinced. He gave the room one more quick look, his eyes pausing at the window before finally wishing me a good night and closing the door behind him. I let out a breath of relief as Jimmy peeked out from behind the closet, a mischievous grin on his face. We both started laughing, muffling our voices in case my father heard. The whole thing was reckless and terrifying, but it only made me feel closer to him. "That was crazy," I whispered, my heart still pounding. "Yeah, but it was worth it," he replied, his eyes warm and sincere. In that moment, I realized just how serious Jimmy was about me. And maybe, just maybe, I was starting to feel the same.